So I just finished watching the movie Steve, starring Cillian Murphy, about a 90s reform school for troubled boys. I just finished watching it, so it's on my TV. Um, Let me start by saying that this film is not for entertainment. Don't go into it like with your family or your friends saying, "Oh, movie night, let's watch for fun." it's not. It's not that kind of film. It's not that kind of film at all. This movie, I have questions, and the biggest question that I have is, what do you do with troubled people that don't know? This film is very difficult. I think why it's very difficult and why when I was watching it, it was very. So basically, sometimes you watch stuff and you can tell that this is maybe like because it's about troubled children. But sometimes in media you will see the troubled children, but they would have like redeemable qualities very quickly. Like he's troubled, but we can see this redeemable quality. We can see this redeemable quality. In this movie, the troubled children are really troubled. And I was watching it, and there were moments that, especially in the beginning, even kind of towards the end, for a lot of this movie, I kept on saying, honestly, I'm with the British public, and the British public, they are basically wondering like, why are we paying for these troubled children when they're just basically causing chaos? And I will not lie to you, there was a moment I was watching and I said, I'm with the British public. Because these children, they did not sanitize them at all as characters. Like, you're talking about flawed characters. You're talking about a very realistic depiction of troubled children in a school, troubled boys in a reform school. The boys will drive you insane. Like, you feel the plight of the staff, you feel the plight of people that work there, of the community, of the British people that are just like, why are we paying for this? Because these children, I'm like, give me a reason to like you because honestly, you're stressing me out. But then, as the movie goes on, you now start getting a little bit more insight into their lives. But this is where it becomes very difficult. And this is the question I have for you because I don't know how to really talk about this movie. I just finished watching it and I'm still thinking like, how do I talk about this? Because the only thing that I have to say is question. And I just kept on asking. Let me tell you what I wrote. I said, what do you do with characters like this? I mean that also because so they are in reform school already. Their parents have sent them here because they're like, I don't know what to do. In the reform school, there's the Jenny, right? She's the therapist. But they are not also responding to therapy. Like they are like slamming chairs against walls. They are throwing stuff. They are yelling at the therapist. Basically, there's one moment that the therapist is talking and one character just has headphones in. They're not even listening to the therapist. And then they are banging stuff and just being so like, and it's like we are trying to help you, and I feel empathy for your situation. But how do you help in situations like this? I guess that was the question that I just kept on having throughout watching this. Because there was another character that was talking to the therapist, and this character has again another just troubled child. But he's talking to the therapist, and he's like, what he really misses is that he misses his mother's like admonishments. Like when the mother was like, is like, stop doing this, or yelling at him, or like telling him, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. And he's like, now in hindsight, he just kind of missed that. But at the same time, right, you're watching this and you're going, I'm sure your mother doesn't. Like, if I'm the parent, I'm sure I don't miss this. I don't miss shouting, stop this. I don't miss shouting, stop that. I don't miss getting basically like attacked or like physically sometimes or verbally or just, I don't miss that. So on the one hand, you feel empathy for these children, but then on the other hand, like all I just kept on thinking was, what do you do in a situation like this? Like, how do we really help reform like troubled children? Question, like, because I don't know. The movie too doesn't really like. So basically, the movie it doesn't really. What it basically ends up saying, right, is that like at the end of the day, Steve, he's really like the boss of this place, and the staff. When I tell you, this movie also, if there are still schools like this, or honestly, teachers of all, because I know teachers even not the ones that are in reform schools for like the troubled, but those staff that work in reform schools, if this still exists, because this was set in the 90s, but if this still exists, the people that work there, hats off to you, because what? Also, hats off and shout out to teachers that have to deal with like troubled children or children that are rowdy or like that just don't listen, like troubled kids. Shout out to you. But anyways, so the movie basically doesn't, it just at the end of the day, so Steve is the leader of the school and the staff there, but basically Steve has grown to see the positive sides of these children, and at the end, like he's basically leaving like a memo or like a voice recording for like the new staff, basically just saying like these are all the boys, like he calls them one by one, and then he lists They are positive attributes. It's like, yes, this one is really, really bad, but this is his positive side. And then at the end of the whole thing, the message and what he really says, I wrote it down because I was trying to remember it. He said, what he just wants these children to know, especially one of them, like one of the very troubled boys that we really follow, is he says, what I really want these children to know, I'm going to paraphrase here, is that things are bad, but I want them to know that there's something else. There is love and there is music and there's places that you haven't seen. And if it is bad, it won't always be like this. So yes, when things are bad now, it won't always be like this. There's places you haven't seen, there's love you haven't experienced. I just wish these people would know that, the things that they've done, the evil that they have done, or the mistakes they feel like they've made, they don't really have to carry it all the time, and it won't always be like this. Things get better. And that's kind of the message of the film. It's that message of hope and it's that message of perseverance. Don't give up because things aren't always going to be bad, which is such a beautiful message, such a positive message, especially for the children who are struggling. And that is a powerful message, full stop. End of thought. New thought. The question I have still persists because while that is great and that is true, like that is completely valid, and yes, please, like, yes to all of that. But as the parent or as the staff or the other person on the receiving end of this, I don't know if this, and it did not, I can't even say I don't know, it did not answer the question of what do we do? Because watching it, I just kept on thinking, because there's a character here whose parents too, you can really see the pain that they had having to send their child to this reform school and having to essentially cut contact because the child too be verbally abusing, physically abusing, leaving threats, basically being a menace. And so the boy that has now been left or abandoned by the parents is now feeling sad and he's crying because he's regretting his actions. But at the same time, you can tell that the parent too is like, I can't do this anymore. I don't know what to do. Like, I've tried and I don't know. And that becomes the question. This is a very loaded question. And this is a very loaded film. And I don't know. And that's why I think when I tell you, I didn't even know how I was going to talk about this movie after watching it because you can see in real time I'm still processing my thoughts. And I still don't know. Because it's a very big question. It's a very heavy question. And I don't know if there's answers to this question. But I guess that's the point of the question of the movie, is to get you thinking and is to get us talking about how do we help troubled youth, and what do we do with the troubled youth? Do we just leave them? Do we just cast them aside and just say they are too much and they are too stressful? Because sometimes they really will get under your skin. Like, this movie is really, when I tell you, if you're going to watch it, just know that you're about to get like triggered in some ways. Like, the children are so annoying, so like mind-numbingly. Oh my god, they will drive you insane. But what then? Do we just throw them to the wayside? Do we just? Because honestly, I won't lie to you. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know. Even I too, I don't know. If your child is really giving me this much level of headache, will I do like the other parent did in this movie too and just take them to the reform school and say, I have to cut contact with you because you're threatening me and you're causing me so much pain? Would I do that? The truth of the matter is I can't say yes or no. And that's the honest truth. It's a hard thing. It's only the parent down. I think I'm just rambling at this point, but like, really, what do we do with troubled youth? That's a very big question, I guess, from Steve. And I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, this is a very, I don't know. This movie, wow. I don't know. I don't know. If you've finished watching this whole video and you have no idea who I am, my name is VDK. I make movie bingo cards, which you can find on my Substack, vdkfilmclub.substack.com, and I talk about films. Until the next movie that I watch, I hope the next one that I watch, I will definitely pick something that's entertaining and fun because please. And until the next movie that I watch, have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.